Yo, what's good? It's your boy Hood, man. I'm hitting y'all up again. This is another video, man. This is my second video on my channel, but I want to holler at y'all real quick. You can just see me sitting back in my little office space in the crib, you know what I mean? This is where I do a lot of the work and all the creations and shit. So I want y'all to like and subscribe because I'm finna hit y'all with my opinion on Woman King. I watched the movie about a week ago. It was actually entertaining. However, it's a lot of historical facts and information that they left out of that movie. And it's really crazy because you could look at this movie, Woman King, from this perspective. You heard of the Jews, you heard of Germans, and you know that the Germans attacked the Jews and tried to kill them and did all this stuff to them in the 1939, 1940s, and stuff like that. So if this movie would be equivalent to the Germans having a movie and they were heroes dealing with the Jews. At the time they were killing the Jews, but this would be a movie of the Germans at that time, but we watching them as heroes. This is exactly that. Because the Homie tribe, which is the tribe that is depicted in this movie, they were a part of the slave trade. And they sold palm oil, which is like oil. So they sold that, which meant they had to sell it for humans, which is us, the people who they shipped to America back in that point. So they were brutal to blacks, and they chopped people's heads off, and the king had heads of slaves on the heel of his chairs that he had. And so for them to make a movie with a historical component like that is really crazy. It's like, wait, what? Why would they want to do this? But obviously this movie was produced by white women and written by white women. And the main character was a black woman. And that's really what this came down to. It was a characterization of black women. Black women was the characters. But it wasn't a story that was going to help black people have any kind of leverage or understanding, because it was about depicting white people as not having so much to do with the slave trade, that it was mostly a thing happening in Africa already, that black people were already having slaves and they was making slaves of each other. And that's true because it was historically hundreds of years of that happening. But the reality of it is they wasn't being necessarily evil towards each other. And so when the Dahomey tribe was trying to come up, they was being blocked by the Yoruba tribe. You know what I'm saying? And so it was just a whole bunch of this stuff that's like in Africa, and it's this tribal. You know what I'm saying? So here come America with guns, and or Europeans rather, with guns and pistols and shit like that, and or alcohol, and so they convinced them to trade for that. Obviously, that's how we became slaves over here in America. So it's really something to think about, because that movie, even though it had a lot of excitement and action, it really wasn't good. And then the other part about it that made me kind of hate it was that I watched all kind of movies, from Amazon women to, you know, just different kind of stories with white women, all the women in penitentiary and shit, or a penitentiary all full of women, or the women, they all on some island and the men land there in a ship and now they want to hold the men hostage. Just like hundreds of white movies like this that's come out since I was a kid. You know what I mean? Just white women was in control. But if you ever saw these movies, the white woman was pretty as hell, voluptuous titties, looking good. You like sitting there and watching the movie like, that's my girlfriend right there. That was my girlfriend too. Ooh, shit, if I love to be with her. You're just a kid, whatever, growing up, young teenager, watching these movies in your life. You're not thinking of no other component except pretty girls. So when you see this movie, Woman King, all the women are brolic and dudeish and ugly and manly and not really pretty and not really sexy, and they look guyish and shit and broad shoulderish. It's like, what the fuck? So you know that this was casted by white women because they don't want the black women that look that beautiful. And you know those women had to get those jobs because they need money. They trying to survive and live. So they had to take on the jobs. But when you see it, it's like, what the fuck? But it's cool though, because this is a movie that they putting out, so we gotta go see it, but it's shitty. And it ain't cool, really. It's just, that's their film, and they gonna make all the money. And the other part about it is that the movie was made for $50 million and only brought back $19 million the first weekend. So technically it's a failure because it's supposed to bring back at least half, at least what it made. So if it spent 50, it's supposed to make back 50 at least, and that's before they even turn a profit. So the idea that this movie was made for that much money and it wasn't even a profit on the first weekend, it lets you know that black people boycotted this film, and they said they wasn't going to see it. That black people didn't go see it. It's a movie that's out and it's a movie that you can go see, but black people kind of on a large level didn't go see it, and it was not like uh, Black Panther. That's what the writer said. She said this movie reminded her she was watching Braveheart when she wrote it, or rather, I think the producer or the writer, one of them said this is the white lady. She was like, she was watching this movie called Braveheart by Mel Gibson back in the day, 1995, 1996. She was watching that and she said, how come there's no women movies like this? So she heard about the Dahomey tribe story, and she thought that would be a good story to make this movie out of. So she basically saying that this Braveheart meets what's that shit called? Black Panther. Braveheart meets Black Panther. No, that's some crap. So we just had to just watch that movie and see what it was gonna do. I admit I knew nothing too much about the Dahomey tribe and nothing too much about that. But I do watch a YouTube channel called The Home Team, and they actually talk about that. So you should look up The Home Team on YouTube. It's a black channel, and they talk about the Dahomey tribe. One of their videos, it was out like 3 years ago, matter of fact. So, and he talked about the tribe way before this movie was coming out or whatever. So it's just something to think about and use to learn more about that tribe before you know, make a full depiction or understanding of this movie, because while it did have some interesting points, it was still really wicked because it's about us being slaves and the people who sold us into slavery, basically, from Africa. So it absolves white people. White people not even involved in this except maybe one white dude who was in love with a girl or something. It's not even like that. It wasn't really white people, but in America, that's who we dealt with in our depiction of what racism is. So for them to have a movie about, hey, these are the people who sold y'all into slavery, and they were heroes and people of valor, it's like, what? You would never say that about no Germans killing no Africans. I'm sorry, killing no Jews. You would never say that they were valor or people that you should look up to, or they were intelligent. They don't do that. They don't do that. They just don't do that. So when you look at the blacks, and also, another thing that I noticed with that movie, and it was really something else to kind of dig deeper about. When they talked about the female, which her name was Mania, whatever, the main lady, who Viola Davis played, she actually was a 16-year-old girl in real life. They looked up the Smithsonian on Tone Talks. Tone Talks is another channel on here. You should look him up, Tone Talks. He's a black lawyer, but he looked up the Smithsonian records on that person, Maniska, and she actually was a 16-year-old girl. This happened in like 1700s, 1800s, and they called her out to the field to come and talk, to come out to, they called her out to the field to come to do like a exhibit. And when she went out there, they had a slave, which is us in America. This is us, but this person didn't make it over here. So the person was in like a barrel, whatever, bound, hands and shit bounded. He's reading this from the Smithsonian about Maniska when she was a teenager. But Viola Davis is like a 60-year-old woman or 55-year-old woman. So this is just a movie depicting of that person. It's not accurate like the age rise. But anyway, she called her out there, and the person who wrote this watched her come out there and swing her sword like that, and then she walked up to the bound person, which is an African like one of us, but they were slaves to the Dahomey tribe at that point. So she walked up and she swung her knife and chopped his head off, and that was a depiction to the people watching that she's a fierce warrior and all that. And that's really what they made this movie about. People like that girl Maniska, who's the main character, which Viola Davis played up character. And if I'm not getting her name right, you'll see the movie. But the main character of the movie, that was who Viola Davis played. And so, but it's actually a real person, but that person was just a teenager at that time. And she did that. And that's one of the things that made her stand out. But if you think about it, that's actually sad and sick because she killed one of us. She killed a black person that was coming to America but didn't make it because he was a slave to them. And they just killed him at some exhibit that they put on. So this is what we're supposed to be celebrating when we watching that movie. But all of this come from history, learning history, knowing history, trying to understand history. You know, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an artist, I'm a musician, I do a lot of stuff. So I kind of learn and listen to a lot of the stuff that go on just so I could be knowledgeable. So, but I wanted to hit my audience with that, like learn more about the history of the Homie tribe, learn more about the Yoruba, learn more about the Meniska and Aretha Smithsonian. Go check out them YouTube channels I spoke about, Tone Talks, and also I forgot which other one, but check out Professor Black Truth too, because he gave a nice depiction about what that movie is about and the budget and all the stuff that they should have did about that. But run this video back, like and subscribe. This your boy Hood. I'm gonna let y'all off the hook right now. Holla at you. Go listen to my new music. It's Wiggly. It's on Apple Music. It's on everything. Everything when it got music. So Spotify. It's called Wiggly. Yusef 2 times. This your boy. Holla at you later.